last night, 3 more teams staked their claim to play in October.
This is something very special.
The Diamondbacks are the National League Western Division champions.
As we head into the final weekend of baseball's regular season, the wild card races are getting real interesting. Boston's epic September collapse has left them only 2.5 games up in the AL wildcard. Now, the reeling Red Sox face their hated rivals in one of the biggest games of their season. It's Red Sox versus Yankees, and you best believe the AL East champs won't be looking to lend any helping hands to Red Sox Nation. While in the NL, it's been not so hot in Atlanta. After a collapse of their own, the Braves find themselves in a dogfight with the St. Louis Cardinals for the NL wild card. We'll keep you updated with all the playoff-impacted games, because Fox Saturday Baseball starts right now.
Welcome to the Chevrolet pregame show on Fox. We are in waterlogged New York, which is at least dry for the moment. Rain washed away the series opener between the Yanks and the Red Sox last night, but Boston actually extended its wild card lead. Losses by the Rays and the Angels gave the Sliding Sox a 2.5 game cushion in front of Tampa Bay, 3.5 in front of LA. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Yankee Stadium. I am Chris Rose, and this is Fox Saturday Baseball. Now, coming up in just a bit, most of you are going to stay here in the Bronx to see if the Yanks can put a serious dent in Boston's playoff aspirations. But what's in it for the Yankees? Earlier this week, they won their 17th AL East crown, but they have bigger dreams of course, capturing the best record in the American League and having home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But let's get things going with a big and a historic night in baseball last evening. For only the second time overall, and the first time since October 5th, 1985, 3 different teams clinched division crowns on the very same night. We start up in Milwaukee, home of the now NL Central champion Brewers. Ryan Braun, he wasn't even alive the last time they won a division championship. That was 1982. They took home the AL East. His 3-run shot, his 32nd of the year, gave him a 4-1 lead over the Marlins. John Axford closes it out. And do they know how to party in Milwaukee? They do, because they watched the Cardinals lose to the Cubs on the big screen. They are your NL Central champions. Move on over to the NL West, where the Diamondbacks have gone from a 90-loss season to a 90-win one. Down 1-0 to San Francisco in the 7th. Chris Young with a run-scoring double. Then an inning later, the fine rookie Paul Goldschmidt, a 2-run triple as it trickles past Carlos Beltran. And then J.J. Putz, part of that rebuilt Diamondback bullpen, gets Aubrey Huff to fly out. Arizona, from worst to first, you got a party and then you got a pool party. Why not? They're off to October. And what about your defending American League champion Texas Rangers? They get a home run off the bat of reigning MVP Josh Hamilton for the 6th time in the last 10 games. And Chris Gentry, his first big league homer, doesn't even leave the yard. It's an inside the park job. The Rangers watch the Angels lose on the big screen. They are back-to-back American League West champions. So that means right now the only playoff spots up for grabs are the wild card in each league. We talked about the American League and the Boston Red Sox leading the way. Over in the National League, the Atlanta Braves, they have a 3-game lead with 5 to play going into action this afternoon. They were in our nation's capital, and obviously the Nats, nice and relaxed. You can just ask Jason Worth and Mr. President. Early going, Michael Bourne with a shot to center, but look at Rick Ankiel, the former pitcher, chasing it down. And then offensively, Danny Espinosa. A little 2-run bingo. That gave the Nats a 3-0 lead. They go on and win this one. 4-1 is the final. So the Cardinals with a chance to make up some ground hosting the Cubs. Early going, Alfonso Soriano put Chicago up 1-0 with an RBI single in the first. Stayed that way until the 9th. Bases loaded, 2 outs, 3-2 pitch, the walk to Ryan Theriot, the former Cub. And then Carlos Marmol uncorks the wild one. The Cardinals win it in exciting fashion, 2-1 the final, so they are still alive in the NL wildcard chase. In fact, if you take a look at the standings, Atlanta now has a 2-game lead over the Cardinals with 4 to play. The defending World Series champion San Francisco Giants, they are still a part of the discussion. They are 4.5 games back. All right, coming up next, we're going to get you out to your game. Most of you will stay here in New York City to see if Boston can extend its wild card lead as it takes on the AL East champion Yankees. And the rest of you are headed to the Lone Star State to see the AL West winning Texas Rangers play Seattle. We'll get you out to the yard next on Fox.
Weekend of the regular season, the visiting Boston Red Sox and the homestanding New York Yankees. A glance at the pregame AL wildcard standings board. Boston hanging on for dear life. 2.5 up on Tampa Bay. 3.5 better than the Angels. Welcome inside the broadcast booth at Yankee Stadium. Matt Vasgersian for the New York Yankees, having sewn up a division title earlier this week. This season marks the 16th time in the last 17 years the Yankees will be playing into the fall. All seems to be right in the Bronx. Same cannot necessarily be said for the Boston Red Sox. As I welcome Tim McCarver to the telecast. Tim, we saw the standings down to 2.5 games in the wild card. Boston trying dearly to hang on.
I think everybody knows the Red Sox story. They were bad the first 2 weeks of the season, bad for the month of September, but the best team in the American League for the middle 4 months. The problem is, how do we relive the middle 4 months these last 6 games of the season?
Trying to avoid a historic September collapse are the Boston Red Sox, and the nation will hope that the math outweighs the momentum and that their team built to win a World Series will in fact be moving on into the fall to at least get the chance. Tim and I are back with the starting lineups in the opening pitch next. front of an excited full house here in the Bronx. Red Sox and Yankees playing after a rainout yesterday. Let's get you right to the Red Sox Taco Bell starting lineup. Taco Bell, think outside the bun. Little change today for Terry Francona, and it's Carl Crawford batting in the 2 spot, something apparently Carl and the skipper are both excited about. Dustin Pedroia moves into the 3-hole. Ortiz, Gonzalez, and Mike Aviles, who's been something of a savior, he bats number 6. Marco Scudero, Josh Reddick, and the switch hitting catcher Jared Salto Lamacchia rounded out as they'll take swings against the 2-time All-Star Freddie Garcia, who has not gone through a terrific September after being so good for much of the season. Garcia making his 25th start of the year here this afternoon as we take a look, Timmy, at the Sprint pitcher profile for the veteran right-hander.
Well, I guess you could use that first point as a question. Surprised he's still here? Well, in a sense, surprised that Bartolo Colon's still here? Yep, same thing. Freddie rarely breaks 87. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. And Joe Girardi, I think, sums it up when he said nobody in the American League as a pitcher has an idea about the aggressiveness of hitters any better than Freddie Garcia.
Opening pitch this afternoon brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds as we are ready for baseball in the Bronx. The Yankees are flying high. 34 games over 500, one shy of their season high for 2011. And the Red Sox, as has been well documented, limping through the season's final month in the midst of a 5-16 September. Jacoby Ellsbury leads it off for us this afternoon. Terry Francona has made the necessary tweaks in his mind to try to reinvigorate an offense. But really, Tim, when you talk about the reasons behind the Red Sox trouble here in September, they certainly have more to do with pitching than they do with their ability to score runs.
Yeah, I think that's been the story of the Red Sox season. Missing 2 of your top starters since the middle of July. And for the most part, John Lester and Josh Beckett are the only 2 healthy pitchers for the Red Sox now. John Lester's on the mound for the Sox.
2 balls and 2 strikes, the count to Jacoby Ellsbury. They have tried their best, have the Red Sox, to put the anxious Red Sox nation at rest by saying, listen, we've got the 2.5 game lead with 6 left. Sure, September has not gone down the way we'd like it to. And if they get there, it'll be a rather unconvincing ride. Ellsbury on 2-2 dumps a fly ball out to shallow right that drops in front of Swisher and behind Cano. A leadoff base hit for Jacoby Ellsbury. Take a look at the Yankees defensively behind Freddie Garcia, 2-time Gold Glover Alex Rodriguez, 5-time recipient Derek Jeter on the left side of the infield. Mark Teixeira at first. You saw the outfield, Jones, Granderson, and Swisher, and it's Russell Martin receiving Freddie Garcia this afternoon. Well, a chance to put that newly wrangled lineup to work for the first time. Carl Crawford batting second for just the 7th time as a Red Sox this year. And it wasn't his overwhelming success in the 2-hole that led to Terry Francona's decision. He's just 5 for 23 this year batting in this chair. Regardless, Carl Crawford was excited about it after he was told about the switch yesterday, and it's something that Terry Francona feels good about regarding Ortiz, Gonzalez, and the rest of the guys in the middle of the lineup as well. Ball and no strikes, the count to Carl Crawford. A quick check of Ellsbury, and that 1-0 pitch is fouled away.
In a sense, Carl Crawford is more suited to the number 2 hole than he is the number 6 hole. The lower in the order you get and you hit, the less you can use your speed.
Only 23 attempted stolen base for Carl Crawford. And when you're looking at his line and doing some quick comparisons between his past few years as a Tampa Bay Ray, beyond the batting average drop, the attempted number of stolen bases declining really grabs your eye. Working with Ellsbury aboard here to start the ball game. Nobody out on the top of the first.
As an example, he had 57 attempts last year and only 23 this year. Gives you an idea of the offensive output of Carl so far this year. You know, we were talking to Terry about it, and Terry said there's no better guy than Carl Crawford. And I said, is he almost too conscientious? And Terry said, yeah, he is.
To the point where he would not be the kind of player that would charge into the manager's office and ask for a change.
That's right.
There goes Ellsbury. Yankees pitch out. Martin's throw takes a hop. Still not in time. Jacoby Ellsbury has his 38th bag of the year.
Good tag by Derek Jeter. That in-between hop. The pitch, a good pitch on which to throw for Russell Martin. Ellsbury just in there. To continue about that thought, though, you know, when you get to the big leagues and you're a grown man, you're already wired. You're not going to get the wiring any differently. So if you're conscientious and a good guy,
just foul and right,
like Carl Crawford is, one of the more respected guys in the American League, you're not going to change that. So you're not going to go wolfing to the manager, as you said, and say, I want to hit second, and I mean it because I'm on the first year of a big contract. He's just not that type of guy. But he is in the right slot, I think, hitting second this afternoon.
Full count to him, 3 balls and 2 strikes, trying to pick up an early run. Ellsbury in scoring position with nobody out here in the first. Popped him up into shallow center. Cano tracking it from second base, and that's the first out of the ball game. You know, one of the issues with Freddie Garcia is Dustin Pedroia stands in now with 1 away. And we talked briefly about how September has not gone down as planned for Freddie. One of the issues has been the home run ball, something pitching coach Larry Rothschild is aware of. 2 home runs allowed by Garcia in each of his last 3 starts, and that comes on the heels of a very stingy period in which Freddie didn't allow anything close to a home run. Here's Pedroia now with a runner at second and 1 gone. I think altogether, though, Tim, folks would agree, and the Yankees have been most pleased, that with the 2 names that you mentioned at the top of the telecast, guys like Freddie Garcia and Bartolo Colon, Joe Girardi's gotten a whole lot more than he could have ever planned on. 19 wins and almost 300 innings between a couple of veterans in their late 30s. Who a lot of people had counted out.
49 starts between the 2.
That's on the ground for Alex Rodriguez, and Pedroia's retired.
That last pitch and the 3-2 pitch to Carl Crawford, examples of what we were talking about. How Freddie Garcia plays to the aggressiveness of the hitters. He throws pitches off the plate and pitch just off the plate inside, and Pedroia grounds out. The thing about, if you're going to get Garcia at this point in his career, you've got to think like he does. If he pitches backwards, you have to think backwards. In other words, you have to look for breaking balls out of a strike zone. Breaking balls behind in the count.
Up to David Ortiz now to try to pick up Ellsbury with 2 gone. The 7-time All-Star has had success against Freddie Garcia in the past, and a breaking ball misses the corner. Ortiz 11 for 36, a .306 lifetime hitter against the veteran right-hander with a couple of career home runs to boot. And a modified shift employed for Big Papi by the Yankees. Another left-handed hitter next, Adrian Gonzalez, should Ortiz have first inning success. 2-0.
Freddie Garcia, it's almost like the plate is about 20 inches wide instead of 17. He pitches to that 1.5 or 2 inches off the plate, inside and outside.
Taking all the way, a strike, and it's 2-1. You know, Joe Madden had a great line on Freddie Garcia earlier this summer. As you see Ortiz taking a look. after a win against Madden's Rays. The Tampa Bay skipper said Freddie Garcia out-veteraned us today.
It's a good line. He can do that.
Out of the stretch, his 2-1 home. 3 balls and a strike. Again, Adrian Gonzalez waiting next, and what's ailed the Red Sox in September has certainly not been the fault of the 2 big left-handed mashers in the middle of the lineup. Both Ortiz and Gonzalez over 300 in this final month of the season. Here's Garcia's 3-1. Ortiz sends the ball out the other way to Jones, and the 10-time Gold Glover puts it away. Nothing comes of the leadoff single and stolen base. Half inning gone in the Bronx. Red Sox 0. Yankees coming to bat. Start of the regular season, and this is the Yankees Taco Bell starting lineup that'll face him. Taco Bell, think outside the bun. Derek Jeter's been red hot since July 4th, coming off the DL. He'll lead off again this afternoon. Curtis Granderson, the MVP candidate, has hit safely in 4 straight. Mark Teixeira, Alex Rodriguez, and Robinson Cano bat 3 through 5. The switch hitting right fielder Nick Swisher in the 6th spot. Andrew Jones gets a start, as you've already seen in left. Jesus Montero in the midst of a terrific homestand, 4 for 9 against the Tampa Bay Rays. And Russell Martin round things out against John Lester. Lester looking for winner number 16 this afternoon. Last time around was Saturday against the Tampa Bay Rays, and he was hung with the loss, his 8th of the year. Still a good season for John, the only American League starter to have won at least 15 games in each of the last 4 seasons. So Derek Jeter ready to start things out against him. The Yankee captain and 12-time All-Star will get it started here in the bottom half of the first. Jeter, Granderson, and Teixeira against John Lester. John Lester's afternoon is underway in the Bronx, and the captain swings and sends a soft liner to Dustin Pedroia. I think Petey was fooled a little bit by that ball. Almost got up the ladder too quickly. He made this catch on his way down. One pitch and 1 out for John Lester this afternoon. So that'll bring up Curtis Granderson now, who has again hit in a modest 4 straight. Terrific numbers for Granderson in a breakthrough MVP candidate type year. 41 home runs, 119 runs batted in, both career highs. And a fastball's in for a strike, and it's 1-1. We've already talked about how John Lester and Josh Beckett have had to hold up almost the entire rotation down the stretch for Boston. And you almost forget about what they looked like on opening day.
As some people were talking about the Red Sox having the best rotation that they've had in years as Granderson goes after the curveball in the dirt. Lester, I was going to say Beckett, but Lester looks like he is on today, a twofold purpose of winning today and in the process getting ready for next Friday to play either the Detroit Tigers or the Texas Rangers. A cutter on both sides of the plate. That's his standard equipment, and you did excuse me with that first hitter of this inning while I visited with the Maris family, did you not?
I didn't notice you were gone. What now? What?
Ooh, that was good.
Mark Teixeira with 2 gone.
In other words, take any time you want.
No, of course.
It was just a warm feeling of seeing Roger Maris and Roger Maris's widow, Pat, and the 6 children that I haven't seen in a long, long time.
Absolutely indulge you in that moment. And the Maris family here, because the Yankees held a special ceremony before the game to honor the 50th anniversary of the record-setting home run number 61 back in 1961. A nice moment. 2 balls and a strike to count to Mark Teixeira.
When only 23,000 people showed up at the old Yankee Stadium to see that game. Roger hitting number 61 off Tracy Stallard.
Ball and 2 strikes to count to Mark Teixeira here. You know, you compare that with the kind of fervor that was here in New York in July when Derek Jeter recorded his 3,000th hit. Maybe it's because there's more media awareness on such milestones. None of that slips by folks anymore.
No.
Same can be said last year when the man on deck, Alex Rodriguez, was approaching his 600th home run. Two gone, bases empty for John Lester to begin his afternoon. Teixeira hits a ball hard to center field. Ellsbury drifting back on it to make a relative routine play on that ball. And the side is retired in order. To the second, scoreless in New York. Relay is sponsored by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. And by the makers of new Bayer Advanced Aspirin, the official pain reliever of Major League Baseball. Back with Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian here at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, where Adrian Gonzalez opens the second. Gonzalez, Aviles, and Scudero for Boston. Scoreless after an inning of baseball this afternoon. Lots on the line for these Red Sox, clinging to a 2.5 game advantage in the American League wildcard race, trying to endure a brutal month of September. The 16 losses this month as Gonzalez obliges on the first pitch and sends a high fly ball out to right center, where Curtis Granderson retires him for the out. The 16 September losses, one shy of one of the worst Red Sox Septembers in recent memory. 11-17 went the 93 vintage down the stretch, and when you're losing down the stretch, certainly the postgame spread tastes different. The hotel pillows aren't as soft, and there's the inevitable discussion of discord between the manager and the GM. And in this case, that latter report came out yesterday, the fact that perhaps there is some consternation between Theo Epstein and Terry Francona, a pair that have worked so well of late. FoxSports.com's Ken Rosenthal joins us this afternoon. Kenny, any additional perspective on those reports?
Well, Matt, Theo Epstein yesterday said there is no disconnect between him and Francona, that they are on the same page. And really, there is no outward sign of tension. I was in Francona's office alone with the two of them yesterday, and Theo was joking about the whole thing. But still, if you're Francona, this talk has to be unsettling. If the Red Sox fail to make the postseason, even if they go out early in the postseason, it's certainly a possibility that Francona would be fired. Could be ownership's call and not Epstein's. Hey, guys, we know this. Boston's a volatile market. This is Francona's 8th season. It's certainly possible that his tenure is running its course.
Kenny, thanks. I don't, Timmy, I have a hard time trying to get my head around this from no more perspective than that of a fan as to how any of this can be pinned on the manager.
Utterly ridiculous, in my view.
There's Marco Scutaro after a quick 3-pitch strikeout to Mike Aviles. 2 gone, bases empty here in the second.
And if there is a disconnect with the team reeling as they have been, they've won only 1 game in the last week. Isn't this the time that you connect, not the other way around?
Look at Derek Jeter. Continues to sip off that fountain of youth. A terrific play, vintage 1996. It keeps it scoreless. Chevrolet is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. But Mother Nature cooperating this afternoon for the first time in recent memory. The rain out yesterday, something that they've become reluctantly used to here in these parts. It's been a brutal weather summer all across the Northeast. Alex Rodriguez leads things off in the second against John Lester. But last night's rain out here at the stadium, the 9th of the season endured by the Yankees. A team that has had 22 games this year affected in some way, shape, or form by rain.
It's amazing. Joe Girardi just can't get over it. Bad weather that this team has been forced to play under. And yet, here they are. They've already clinched the division.
Joe saying to us before the ballgame that he thinks his club has a chance to be the first in history to play a rain rescheduled split day-night doubleheader in the division series. He went on to say he's just 2 units shy of a full-fledged meteorology degree this year. 2 balls and a strike to Alex Rodriguez. A ground ball to the left side of the infield for Micah Vilas, and the New York native throws out Rodriguez, 1 away. Part of what's gone wrong for the Red Sox as we get past the rain for New York has been some really uncharacteristically poor defense. 17 errors in their last 11 ball games as Robinson Cano stands in now with 1 away. And to that, Terry Francona has admitted it's been a combination of having to play people out of position and guys pressing down the stretch.
If not pressing, now think about it. When your pitching goes bad, that means the opposition's hitters are hitting the ball harder. When they hit the ball harder at guys, the chances of them making an error, bobbling a ball, or what have you are much greater. So the better your pitching is, the opposition doesn't hit the ball as hard as it normally would. So if your pitching's bad, normally it would follow that your defense is going to be bad.
Ball and a strike to count to Robinson Cano. Yeah, that all stands to reason. I mean, it might sound like a very kind of basic view of it, but it certainly makes sense. That passes the smell test. And the 1-1 home to Cano is hit hard into the hole in left field. Robinson Cano just keeps on going in the midst of an MVP caliber season. So with 1 out and 1 on, we check in with Chris Rose.
All right, thank you, Matt. Of course, these two franchises, they'll be forever intertwined, and that includes when fans on the respective sides want to complain about high-priced free agent pitchers that they feel have underdelivered, namely John Lackey for Boston, A.J. Burnett for the Yankees. If you listen to a lot of the talk show fodder out of New York and Boston, a lot of people are saying, well, can we trade Burnett straight up for John Lackey? When you look at the numbers, they're obviously ugly. That includes the contracts. So we asked today, a John Lackey for A.J. Burnett trade would be good for New York, good for Boston, good for both, or good for neither. Simply log on to foxsports.com and vote away. And also, if you want to expand a little bit on that, you can. Just hit me up on my Twitter handle, @ChrisRose. I know it's very creative. Also, hashtag SoxYanks. Remember, only 140 characters need apply on that one, Matt.
I'm glad you specified that, Chris, because I know nothing about the world in which you live.
I'm merely renting that space as a fellow 40-year-old.
1 out, 1 on as Nick Swisher checks his swing on a ball in the dirt. A ball and a strike now. The count to the switch-hitting right fielder. This is It's a Review, folks. Log on to foxsports.com. Get on to Chris Rose's Twitter account. Send him a tweet. I think that's the proper vernacular. And
that's my vote.
Tim is making his choice.
Good for Boston. Therefore, you don't make the deal if you're the Yankees. John Lackey's earned run average is 6.5. A.J. Burnett, on the other hand, they're talking about A.J. as being the third starter against either Detroit or Texas when the Yankees play in the postseason. To me, that's a no-brainer. By the way, John Lackey's starting tomorrow, and A.J. Burnett's starting for the Yankees in the split doubleheader.
Terry Francona had a real decision to make as to who would get the ball in that doubleheader tomorrow. Tim Wakefield in game 1, Lackey in the nightcap as Swisher has to dance out of the way. You know, you talk to both managers about how they're going to pitch down the stretch and into the postseason, given the chance for the Red Sox at least, and they're both going to be coy with you for very, very different reasons. Joe Girardi doesn't really want to talk about that because he hasn't set his postseason roster yet. Terry Francona doesn't really want to go there because he's not in the postseason quite yet. Three balls and a strike to Nick Swisher. And there's ball 4. In his last start Saturday against the Rays, John Lester walked 4, and to those that have watched him throw in each of his 4 full years with the Red Sox, that in their minds, Tim, is among the big differences between John Lester 2011 and the John Lester of the last couple of years. Command of the fastball, a lot of walks in particular.
2 bad starts in a row against Tampa Bay. 2 starts in which he took the loss in both games. A game we did last Saturday. And the only reason he's pitching today is because of the rain out last night.
At least 3 walks in 3 of his last 4 starts. And here's Andrew Jones now with runners at first and second and 1 gone. Final line last Saturday in the loss to the Rays. Went 7, endured some very long innings early. Jones wraps it to shortstop. Scudero to second. And either Pedroia came off the bag or Swisher just beat him to it.
I think Swisher beat him to it. The play here is to third base. But Aviles isn't there. Aviles, the third baseman, wasn't on the bag. If Aviles breaks right to the bag, the play is to third. Swisher beat the play easily at second base. Pedroia was on all the way. But that play is to Aviles at third base. I think the inexperience of Aviles as a third baseman showed up on that play because he had no idea where Scudero was going on the play. Now the Yankees have the bases loaded. But I think if they go right to third, they have Cano.
Cano, Swisher, and Jones aboard for Jesus Montero, the young DH this afternoon, who's had a big homestand, 4 for 9 against the Tampa Bay Rays. He had a 3 for 3 afternoon in the series finale with Tampa. Jesus Montero made his major league debut on the 1st of September in a win at Boston. Started at DH that night and ended up scoring the go-ahead run in the 7th. And is in front, 2 balls and no strikes.
Watch Mike Aviles, the third baseman. He kind of gives up on going to third base, thinking the throw's going to be to second. If you dart right for the bag, you've got to play at third base. But the play went to second too late.
It's part of the equation we talked about earlier. The Red Sox uncharacteristically bad defense, and in the case of Mike Aviles, a guy that's played most of his career in the middle of the diamond, having to play third base in the absence of Kevin Youkilis.
Well put, you're right.
You see the Yankees have feasted with the bases loaded this year, a major league leading 9 grand slams for the year. Well, it's a big moment early in the ballgame, Tim, and again, not to sound like a broken record here, but for the Red Sox, a team that's had trouble getting long starts out of its rotation down the stretch, the one thing you look for with Lester and Beckett is at the very least giving you a chance to win by going deeper into the afternoon.
Broken record with a bad song for the Sox here in September.
3 balls and no strikes. Boston starters over this bad stretch in September, over the last 18 games, are averaging fewer than 5 innings per turn. Lester in this early jam, bags full, a 3-0 count to Jesus Montero with only 1 away. 3-1 now. Montero spent most of the season at AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Hit .288 on the farm this year, 18 home runs. Did nothing to change his status as the player that Baseball America magazine designated as the Yankees' top farmhand. And a base hit into left field. The Yankees are the first to score this afternoon on an RBI knock by Jesus Montero.
Joe Girardi telling us that you forget he's 21 years old and he's going to make the postseason roster. That's not official. But how can you keep him off the way he's been hitting? Over 300 with 3 home runs. Whacks one to left to put the Yankees on the board.
RBI number 9 for the rookie prospect. Pitching coach Kurt Young comes out for his first visit. One left-hander to another. So Marvin Hudson out to break up the discussion. Tim McClellan, the crew chief, working third base this afternoon. Hudson behind the plate. Brian Runge and Ted Barrett, the rest of the crew. Russell Martin now with the bases loaded. One in, one out. It has been a comeback year for Russell Martin from a very serious hip injury last year that some thought may cost him a career. With the bases loaded, Martin with his 17 home runs and 62 runs batted in his back pocket with a chance to pad the early lead. That's some of the carnage on the Boston starting staff we discussed a moment ago. Line to left. Crawford coming on. Can't make the catch. Swisher scores easily. Andrew Jones being waved in. He'll score without a play. 3-0 Yankees.
There have been two plays defensively that I don't think an error is going to be given on either one. Mike Avila's not covering third, and this ball where Crawford has a long way to run for it, but that ball's got to be caught. And if it is caught, Andrew Jones is a dead duck at second base because he was already on third. Swisher goes back to tag up. Watch this. Right around third base. Swisher goes back to tag. Jones had thought the ball was going to fall off the glove of Crawford. Jones and Swisher score.
Scored officially is a 2-run single for Russell Martin. 3-0 Yankees. Runners at first and second. Still only one away for Derek Jeter now. The 7th Yankee to come to the plate in the inning. A drive into the opposite field. Well hit. Reddick is back, and that one is gone. The resurgent captain continues his second half push. 3-run shot makes it 6-0 New York.
All of Derek Jeter's critics earlier in the season are hiding under a rock somewhere, a big rock. They've disappeared. You never hear from them. What's happened?
Lots of open lines on the talk shows. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, baby.
Curtis Granderson now.
Remember that first month and a half of the season? Derek Jeter's range is poor. He's not playing well. And since coming off the disabled list on July 4th, batting .335.
Early bullpen activity behind John Lester, veteran right-hander Scott Atchison.
And John Lester could be out of the inning with only one run scored, if that.
Well, this is a nightmare scenario for the Red Sox early on. And a swing and a miss. Granderson down on strikes. So the second time in as many plate appearances in as many innings, by the way, that Granderson has struck out today. Mark Teixeira, the 9th Yankee to come to the plate in this very productive second inning today. Yeah, if Derek Jeter had listened to his critics, getting back to his terrific second half, he should have already had a nice retirement home on a golf course picked out in Florida.
Or as they refer to St. Petersburg, across the bay from where the Yankees train, as St. Jetersburg.
But again, since July 4th, coming off the DL, and more specifically since the middle of August, it has been the same Derek Jeter that you come to expect night in and night out at the ballpark. .335 since coming back off the DL.
And looking forward, one of the great postseason performers in the game's history.
And Derek Jeter taking part in the ceremony before the ball game, honoring Roger Maris and his family. That's the bat used for number 61 in '61. A swing and a miss by Teixeira. All told, however, a 6-run inning for the Yankees in the second. Derek Jeter keys the attack with a 3-run home run. Will return to New York after a word from your local Fox station. Process for the Red Sox of trying to come back in this one. Still plenty of baseball left, as the broadcasters like to say. Reddick, Saltalamacchia, and Jacoby Ellsbury here for Boston. An early 6-0 advantage staked to Freddie Garcia. Oh, and 2 quickly to Josh Reddick. Well, Garcia has allowed the leadoff single and then gone on to retire the next 6 he'd face. A nightmare second inning endured by John Lester. One made worse, one compounded by a pair of defensive miscues, as Tim pointed out, neither of which scored as errors, but both of them loom large.
One, a mental error on the part of Mike Avila's not covering third base. The other, a physical error in my view. I think that ball is not a single, but an error on Carl Crawford. I mean, that ball's got to be caught, and if it is, then the Yankees are held to 1 run.
Still 2 balls and 2 strikes to Josh Reddick. Now the 6-run second, a terrific opportunity for Freddie Garcia. We had talked about the home runs that he had allowed in his last 3 starts. That's 7 home runs in his last 14 innings leading into the day. But pitching with the luxury of a 6-run advantage early as Reddick sends a fly ball into center. With 1 gone, we check in with Chris Rose for a DirecTV game break.
Matt, the St. Louis Cardinals still in the thick of the NL wildcard chase, but down early to the Cubs after the Alfonso Soriano single. It stayed 1-0 to the 9th. Bases loaded, 2 outs, 3-2 pitch, a little bit high to the former Cub Ryan Theriot. We're tied, and then Carlos Marmol uncorks the wild one. The Cardinals come back with 2 in the 9th to win it 2-1. Remember, to see every baseball game the most in HD, it's 1-800-DIRECTV. With that win, coupled with the Braves' loss, they're just 2 back in the wild card chase. Matt and Tim?
Chris, thanks. 1 gone here for Jared Saltalamacchia. Check of that National League wild card standings board. The Giants were a little bit more relevant after a loss to the Diamondbacks yesterday. A big series happening in Phoenix this weekend. A lot of folks thought that San Francisco had an opportunity after they had won 8 straight, a streak that came to an end this week, to maybe get right back in at full bore with that weekend opportunity in Phoenix. Then they had the tough series with the Dodgers, and the Giants are clearly, Tim, on the outside looking in here in the final weekend of the season.
When you're reeling like the Red Sox or reeling like the Atlanta Braves, it is so hard to forget games. Or the Cardinals the other night. With a 4-run lead in the top of the 9th inning, the New York Mets score 4 from nowhere. Score 6, actually, to not only tie it, but to take the lead on a base hit by Tejada, their fine shortstop, and win that game 8-6. That was the last game in St. Louis. That would have made it 1. After the game, it was 2. They were 2 back of the Braves. And then they got it to 2 again last night. But it's so hard to forget. And that's what Terry Francona and some of the young players are learning with the Red Sox. The older players know it.
Ball and no strikes to count to Jacoby Ellsbury. Boy, it has been a brutal month any way you slice it for the Red Sox. Outscored early, outscored late. Bullpen starting staff without a guy like Kevin Youkilis, who is so important to the makeup of the team.
Vital.
Three balls and no strikes to Jacoby Ellsbury. Desperation is a strong word, but when you hear things like maybe we could get Youkilis back out onto the field, he's got a sports hernia that will likely require surgery at the end of the year, hip, back. When you hear things about Clay Buchholz maybe being able to help the team in the last week of the season, he's been out with a stress fracture in his lower back.
Right.
Then maybe desperation isn't the wrong choice of words in that case.
I don't think it is.
Here's Carl Crawford now after the walk to Jacoby Ellsbury.
A team that lost 8-6 in their last home game, and they were booed leaving the field at Fenway Park. It's kind of tough for a team that was the best team in the American League for 4.5 months of the season. Not just a week or two.
Yeah, what's the old phrase? It's not how you start, but how you finish. And in the case of the Red Sox, they certainly didn't get off to a great start, 2-10.
Right. Horrible first 2 weeks and a horrible September. But great in between.
Oh, and 2 the count to Carl Crawford. In terms of the rest of the American League wildcard picture, the Tampa Bay Rays, who are without question watching this one this afternoon, have Jeff Neiman tonight at home against Ricky Romero and the Blue Jays in St. Pete. Tampa Bay back 2.5 at the start of play this afternoon. And the Angels are also at home after losing to Oakland yesterday. They've got Jerome Williams today against Guillermo Moscoso and the Oakland A's. A's have given the Angels all they can handle this year. A ball and 2 strikes to Carl Crawford.
After this weekend, the Oakland Athletics may be the most popular baseball team in the country. With the advent of Moneyball, which opened nationally yesterday, about Billy Beane and the fine novel by Michael Lewis.
Wrapped softly to first. Teixeira does it himself. Nothing in the Boston third. More Moneyball perhaps if we continue. Middle of the third at 6-0 New York. Alex Rodriguez leads things off in the home half of the third. The Yankees on top of the Red Sox early on this afternoon, 6-0 with Chris Rose, Ken Rosenthal, and Tim McCarver. Matt Vasgersian here in the Bronx. Final weekend of the regular season. 6 runs on 5 hits so far against John Lester as Alex Rodriguez rolls a ground ball out to Mike Aviles. Now clearly with a doubleheader on tap for tomorrow, more than 2 or 3 innings is imperative for John Lester in particular. Ken Rosenthal joining us again here at the ballpark for more on that. Kenny, there are reasons beyond just the doubleheader for a long start being important today.
Well, the problem that Terry Francona faces is this. As you say, Matt, you want Lester to go deep into the game to save the bullpen for the doubleheader, especially with Tim Wakefield and John Lackey starting. But on the other hand, if he goes too deep, he might not be in great shape Wednesday if the Red Sox need him to come back on 3 days rest for the season finale. So really, you talk about a desperate team, guys. Well, desperate teams create poor choices.
Boy, and that's a choice that Terry Francona is faced with, and I think that if you were to ask him about it, he wants to win today. He'll worry about tomorrow.
Yeah, but he's trailing by 6 in this run in this game. Is 6 insurmountable for the Red Sox? Well, no, because they have a good lineup, but that is an excellent point brought up by Ken.
There have been some wild theories posed about how to maximize Lester and Beckett over the final 6 games of the season. Robinson Cano pops up. Scudero out from shortstop, and there are 2 away. There were also reports that came out of Boston during the week, Tim, that the Red Sox were actually kicking the tires on a one start rental.
Saw that. Chris Capuano of the Mets. A very strange thing. But again, an example of how desperate they are.
There's Nick Swisher now with 2 gone. And of course, the Boston media, which is notoriously thorough, that's the word choice I'm using. They have documented all during the week at just how the Red Sox swung and missed, if you will, in trying to bring in some pitching help before the deadline. It was on their radar. You can't have enough, right, as the old-time guy with the straw hat and the stopwatch is going to tell you. So they swung and missed at Rich Harden. That didn't work out after some physical issues. There were others that they had considered. The asking price was too high to get into the Ubaldo Jimenez sweepstakes. And at the time, in fairness to the Red Sox, they were not in the kind of pitching crisis that they're in now. Two balls and a strike to count to Nick Swisher.
There were many more games out in front than they are now, too. So their position was not as critical as it is in September. You don't want to play yourself into that situation, but they have.
I don't know that the biggest pessimist in New England could have seen this coming.
No.
Swisher with a nice piece of hitting. Lines it into the opposite field. Every time I say that, I feel guilty. I can't stand that. That's the worst baseball cliche in the world. You should have fined me on that. That's a fine. I'm going to hand you $1 for using that. Great piece of hitting. It happened to be just that, so I went there. Here's Andrew Jones now with a 2-out base runner aboard.
Well, that kind of sums up the Moneyball theory. Nick Swisher, as a matter of fact, was in that Moneyball draft in 2002. He was a Moneyballer. I think you take Lester out of the game. That's what I think. I think you hope your bullpen can hold it so the Red Sox can play catch up, but you save Lester in, again, a desperate situation and start him on Wednesday night against the Baltimore Orioles in Baltimore.
A ball and a strike to count to Andrew Jones.
I mean, 6 runs is a lot to spot the Yankees, and not to think they can hold that up in this ballpark.
Even if you're not dealing with their frontline bullpen guys.
Right.
I think many would agree with you. 2 balls and a strike to count to Andrew Jones as he was able to check his swing there. The early deficits have been a familiar story for John Lester against the Red Sox this year. Against the Yankees, that is. Through that 5.5 hole, another base hit.
I mean, you had Atchison warming up the last inning. So you've already admitted, I think, Terry Francona and Kurt Young, that John Lester does not have his good stuff today. If that's the case, hope he does Wednesday. Put him in reserve, get him out of there, and let the bullpen try to hold him close. And that way you're not giving up on the game by taking Lester out. You're just preserving him for a situation like Wednesday night in Detroit or in Baltimore.
Jesus Montero now, he singled in a run back in the 6-run second. Swinging a ball well struck out to left center field. Ellsbury on the move, and he plays that one off the base of the wall. Swisher scores. Andrew Jones scores. 8-0 New York. And maybe a decision for Terry Francona made a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the deal was made right here with this hit. What a good-looking young hitter Jesus Montero is. So strong to be that young. So many teams wanted Montero in a deal. Brian Cashman said nope. Here he is, 2 for 2 with 3 RBIs in this game today.
John Lester gone after 2 2/3. Finished 3 innings this afternoon, 2 2/3, his shortest of the season, in which he allows 8 earned runs on 8 hits. His last 3 starts, Tim, an ERA up over 10, and he yields early this afternoon to the right-hander Scott Atchison. 2 runs are in this inning on the 2-run double by Jesus Montero. He stands at second with 2 gone for Russell Martin.
2 of those starts by John Lester, as we mentioned earlier, against Tampa Bay. Now here against the Yankees.
Martin sends a fly ball out to left center. Crawford and Ellsbury are there under it, and that puts an end to the 3rd. 2 more for New York. We played just 3. It's already 8-0 Yankees. See, get it faster with 4G. Rethink possible. And by Burger King, where you can enjoy the flavor of soft serve in several delicious combinations. Dustin Pedroia leads things off in the Red Sox half of the fourth. Boston in a sizable hole, 8-0 Yankees after the first 3 innings. Pedroia, Ortiz, and Gonzalez against the 2-time All-Star Freddie Garcia. Well, Dustin Pedroia hit safely in 13 of the 14 he's played against New York this year, but it's going to require more than a one-man band this afternoon to come back from such a large deficit. Out in front, as so many have been early on today.
It's important to wait as a hitter under normal circumstances, but particularly against a guy who feeds off that stuff. Again, he feeds off the aggressiveness of the hitters.
You know, for those that had not watched Freddie Garcia early in his career, he hasn't always been the finesse guy.
No.
That
no,
he is
true.
at this stage.
That's right. Guy who pitched the clincher for the Chicago White Sox against the Houston Astros in 2005 to win the World Series for the Sox.
It's a base hit for Dustin Pedroia, second base hit for the Red Sox this afternoon. Well, we talked to Joe Girardi between innings and asked him, in an ideal world, considering the big lead, how he plans on getting through the rest of this day with his bullpen.
Well, we'll use it accordingly. I mean, that's what we have to do, because, you know, the one thing that we still have left to accomplish in the regular season is try to clinch home field advantage throughout the American League Championship Series. So I'm going to use it accordingly.
Jesus Montero continues to impress, and as you told us, Joe, it's hard to believe he's just 21 years old.
It really is, and you know, you look at what he's done so far, it's been very impressive, and especially off the left-handers, he swung the bat very well.
Joe, thanks for your time as always. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, guys.
Double play goes 4-6 to 3, just like that. There are 2 away, and the bases are empty for Freddie Garcia in the fourth. And just to button up that thought, Tim talking about home field advantage and what the Yankees have left to accomplish. The Yankees' magic number to clinch home field in the postseason up to the World Series is 2. So a New York win and a Detroit loss today, as unlikely as the latter may seem with Justin Verlander on the mound, means that the Yankees clinch home field. Here's Gonzalez now with 2 away.
And you set up to the World Series, because obviously the World Series will be started in the National League City because of Prince Fielder's 3-run home run, primarily in the All-Star game in Arizona.
Brewers having clinched their first division title since 1982 yesterday. One of 3 teams to clinch on Friday night. Postseason picture starting to shape up. But Joe Girardi thinking about home field advantage, and as we kind of hinted at during that interview, thinking about how to use his bullpen today, given the doubleheader tomorrow, given the chore of trying to keep people sharp. Ken Rosenthal on a little more as to what confronts the Yankee manager.
Well, the biggest decision, Matt, is that number 3 starter. Who will it be? And I wouldn't rule out Freddie Garcia. Bartolo Colon, he is rapidly fading. A.J. Burnett, you never know what you're getting. Phil Hughes is going to pitch Tuesday for the first time in 15 days. But Freddie has endeared himself to the Yankees with his calmness and his fearlessness.
Adrian Gonzalez dumps a base hit into the right field corner. Second hit of the inning, 1 on with 2 away now. The Bartolo Colon was so good for much of the season, and as Kenny hints, he has not had the kind of results he would like the last handful of starts he's made. But these are important assignments down the stretch for Garcia in particular, because there was some question about what he'd give them in the postseason, given the last 3 starts that Freddie had made, not good ones. They're all lining up behind the big left-hander. Here's Mike Aviles now.
How many teams that will be close to 100 wins during the season have a problem with the third starter going into the postseason? Not many. Because obviously, if they had a problem, they wouldn't win that many games.
There's always got to be some hand-wringing around this uniform, right? And really, the team has put together a fantastic season. Going back to the postseason, 100 wins, as you mentioned. Avila's tried to check his swing but went around. So 2 hits, nothing on the scoreboard to show for it. Played 3.5. It's 8-0 Yankees. Chevrolet. Back alongside Tim McCarver, Chris Rose, Ken Rosenthal, Matt Vasgersian in the Bronx. It has been all Yankees so far this afternoon. 8 runs on 8 hits. They've chased John Lester after just 2 2/3. And one of those largely responsible, Derek Jeter, leads things off in the 4th. A 3-run home run in the 2nd. Runners aboard with 1 gone, and the captain gets number 6. That's where they like to fly in this ballpark, especially in the afternoon, out to right center. I thought Joe Girardi made some interesting comments, Tim, and sometimes you don't hear a manager fess up to something that is true like this statement, but Joe talked very bluntly this week about how home field advantage is so important for the Yankees because they are built for this ballpark. As Jeter lines out to right. More on that thought as we continue. First, we check in with Chris Rose for a DirecTV game break.
Mad across town, the Mets, they've never thrown a no-hitter in their history. R.A. Dickey has one going in the, well, all right, till then. Shane Victorino broke it up. He gave up just a run on 3 hits. Then David Wright, tough year for him physically, but it's a run-scoring double. Mets beat the Phillies, who have now lost 7 straight since clinching their 5th straight NL East crown. 2-1 your final. Remember to see every baseball game the most in HD. It's 1-800-DIRECTV. Guys?
Chris, thanks. Here's Curtis Granderson with 1 gone. The 2 New York ballparks, Tim, built and opened in the same years. One has a team that plays perfectly to its environs, and that's the Yankees, and the other is threatening to change its confines to better suit its team. Granderson dumps a fly ball into shallow left. The Mets said during the week that they have looked at 3 years worth of data and concluded that it might be in the team's best interest to lower the fences and perhaps even move them in incrementally.
That gives you an idea of how messed up the Mets are. It took them 3 years to figure out what somebody who's been around the game for a while could figure out in 2 weeks.
Here's Mark Teixeira with 2 gone.
I mean, all you had to do was look at that ballpark and you'd know that that park was not a major league park. It's just too difficult to hit home runs in.
Scott Atchison gets the Yankees in order in the 4th. Bottom of the order in the top of the 5th inning for Boston. Scooter O'Reddick and Salta Lamacchia against Freddie Garcia, who has been buoyed by 8 runs of support this afternoon. Freddie on his end has allowed just 3 singles. He struck out 3 batters and is cruising right along in the middle innings. A ball and a strike to Marco Scutaro, who along with David Ortiz and Adrian Gonzalez has had a strong September. Despite the poor collective results for the team, Marco doing what he can here down the stretch drive. And a base hit to lead things off in the 5th. A reminder, this October the American League's best teams will look to their brightest stars to see which one will become the hero that leads them into the Fall Classic. Legends are born in October, and our exclusive coverage of the ALCS begins October 8th only on Fox. Leadoff hitter report now for Josh Reddick. Justin Verlander, one of the names that you saw there, of course, in the midst of a drop-dead Cy Young Award winning season for the Detroit Tigers. And Verlander's on the mound tonight to make what will be his 34th and final regular season start, Tim. Looking for his 25th victory of the year.
He's my MVP.
Really?
Yes. You know, a lot has been made of some people who do not think, in fact, a lot of people in baseball, in and around baseball, who do not think a pitcher should be an MVP. If that's the case, take it away.
2 balls and a strike to count to Josh Reddick. Well, I think
just put in the rules that a pitcher can only win a Cy Young award. However, if he is eligible to win an MVP award, then he should be included in the voting, regardless of what people think about whether pitchers shouldn't be an MVP or not. I mean, the way I look at it, if the guy's the most valuable player on his team, regardless of what position he's in, just because that other position is a pitching position and they have their own award, the Cy Young Award, well, then take it away from the writers and not allow a pitcher to be an MVP. But as long as he's allowed, why not?
It's a high fly ball to the corner for Nick Swisher. Well, Ken Rosenthal's latest entry on FoxSports.com cites a growing sentiment for Verlander and the MVP award. And since we've got Kenny with us here at the ballpark today, we'll go right to the source. Kenny, the latest on what you see as the MVP race, given you are an accredited voter in the process.
Well, Tim is exactly right. The ballot explicitly states that pitchers are eligible, so you have to give Justin Verlander the strongest possible consideration. The problem I'm having with Verlander is that I'm not sure, as good as his season is, it's enough of a separator from some worthy position players like Ellsbury, like Granderson, like Miguel Cabrera, like Jose Bautista. And that is what you have to struggle with as a voter, and it's really difficult, guys, because obviously Verlander is deserving, but there are some everyday players that are quite deserving too.
Well, Kenny, you talk to a lot of your contemporaries in this process. I mean, are you citing by example conversations with other voters that lead you to believe that Verlander might be a stronger candidate today than he was a week or so ago?
Well, a number of my colleagues have written that they are leaning toward Verlander, and a lot of the talk about him has been an attempt to justify his inclusion in the process, which of course shouldn't even be a discussion. He is eligible, he is worthy, he will be on most everyone's ballots, if not all the ballots. Question, Matt, is where you put him.
1-1 pitch home to Jaron Saltalamacchia, misses to make it 2-1. It's a terrific discussion to talk about in the abstract, but when you get into the actual names involved, that guy's hit 41 home runs, Curtis Granderson. That guy, Jacoby Ellsbury, has been at or near the top of just about every American League offensive category you can fathom this year, along with his teammate Adrian Gonzalez. It's not like it's a weak field among the position players.
No, I agree with that. In fact, Ellsbury could lead the major leagues in total bases. How many times does a leadoff hitter lead the majors in total bases? The last time it happened was when Bobby Bonds did it for the San Francisco Giants back in 1973. So you're right, there are many, many other candidates. I just think Justin Verlander has, I don't think he'll win by a large margin like Bob Gibson did in 1968 or Denny McClain did in 1968. But I think more consideration should be given Verlander instead of Justin just being dismissed.
I think the only thing we can say with certainty regarding any of these postseason awards as Jacoby Ellsbury stands in is that Justin Verlander has already won the American League Cy Young Award.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, right. I dare anybody to try to make a case for anybody other than Justin Verlander. Ellsbury takes a fastball for a strike. Jacoby has singled, stolen a base, and walked this afternoon. All 4 of the hits allowed by Freddie Garcia have been just that, just singles. Well, of the last 5 American leaguers, Tim, to win both the MVP and the Cy Young Award, one of them was a Tiger, Willie Hernandez, back in the World Series year of 1984. Doesn't happen very often when the twains shall meet. And a base hit back up the middle. Jacoby Ellsbury's been on base in all 3 of his plate appearances this afternoon. So now Carl Crawford, and if you think the 0 for 2 at the plate makes for a tough day, it's been even tougher when you factor in what's happened in the outfield this afternoon. Coming up short on a ball that certainly looked catchable to most. That led to a big 6-run inning in the second. So runners at first and second. First time the Red Sox have put a multiple base runner threat aboard against Garcia today. It's certainly not ranking in the flattering category when you hang the 5 and fly on a starting pitcher. However, in the case of Freddie Garcia, I don't think anybody means it as a rip, when in fact you're dealing with a guy who's in the later stages of his career. And if you can get 5-6 quality innings, given the big lead and given trying to line up your ducks for the postseason, nobody's going to complain this afternoon.
That's the state of pitching in the major leagues now anyway. 5 or 6 and fly. Give us 5 or 6 strong innings.
Well, we'll take you back to the second with Carl Crawford, and this was the misplay on the Russell Martin drive. There's a logjam at third that may or may not have played into it. 2 runs scored, and then the Jeter home run. And it's been all uphill for the Red Sox since.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I think that's a worthy point. When you're trying to make a play like that, and you see 2 guys at third base peripherally, you think you have to hurry the play, and that perhaps is what happened to Carl on that play.
Little bouncer out to Cano to make for another scoreless frame behind Freddie Garcia. Middle of the afternoon. All Yankees on top 8-zip. Proud to support youth baseball across the country. To the bottom half of the 5th. And Alex Rodriguez leading things off for the Yankees. Rodriguez, Cano, and Swisher for New York. Packed house here on a gloomy afternoon here in early fall in the Bronx. And I think fans here are just pleased that this one was started without any trouble from Mother Nature. As gloomy as it may seem out there, at least it wasn't raining as it did yesterday, to the point that last night's game was canceled. Rain is expected tomorrow. These two teams will play a split doubleheader tomorrow afternoon to wrap up their regular season acquaintanceship for 2011.
And an interesting subject before the game, Terry Francona giving kudos to the general manager of the Yankees, Brian Cashman, for the way he handled everything last night. Said they met in the umpires room, and we'll tell you that story about what happened in their decision to cancel last night's game. And Brian Cashman said quite candidly, look, we want to win, but we realize that you're in a much more vulnerable situation than we are, without saying you have to win. And we want to get it right, particularly a game like this, particularly with the situation you're in. And Terry Francona said that was a very, very classy thing for Brian Cashman to do, and I've got to agree with it. Classy thing from a first-class guy.
One gone now for Robinson Cano.
Who talking about a guy under the gun this year, not only during the offseason between last year and this year, but the trading deadline in July, in late July. And Brian Cashman held on to what he has. And he should really be given credit, because what he has, Colon, Freddie Garcia, we've talked about, Russell Martin, one of the great deals that's kind of flown under the radar. For only $4 million, cheap by today's standards. Andrew Jones has been lights out since the All-Star break. And Eric Chavez, who did a fine job when Alex Rodriguez was out for so long.
None of those moves made headlines. Each has been very important to the collective success here in the Bronx this year. Here's Nick Swisher now with two gone. Jabba Chamberlain hoping to be ready for opening day 2012. Well, there are some nicks and some bruises on this Yankee team that they'd like to fix before the postseason. Of course, Jabba's gone for the remainder of 2011. But Francisco Cervelli, who suffered a concussion, was just cleared to begin exercise this weekend. He's not yet begun baseball activities. Alex Rodriguez has been nursing the sore left thumb. After 157, 158 games, nobody's completely 100%. As Swisher takes ball 4. But the Yankees would like to get as close to it as possible. Time for a direct TV game break. We check in with Chris Rhodes.
Hey, Matt, the Yankees will likely play either the Tigers or these Rangers in the first round of the playoffs, and they're teeing off on King Felix. David Murphy with a 2-run single there, and then Michael Young literally knocks King Felix out of the game. Right forearm injury, done after 3 1/3. We'll keep you updated. Rangers leading the Mariners right now 7-2 in the 5th. Matt and Tim?
That's a rough way for your final regular season start to come to a close. Get every game, every big league game, and the most in HD. Call 800 Direct TV. Here's Andrew Jones now with 2 out and a runner aboard. As Chris mentions, the Yankees waiting for an opponent, as the rest of those that have qualified are. Still some unfinished business in that postseason picture. But if the season were to end today, it would be the Yankees and the Rangers. New York took 7 of 9 this year from Texas, and it would be Boston and the Tigers. Red Sox had their way with Detroit during the regular season.
Yeah, but that's a trick with the way both teams are going right now. Detroit, one of the hottest teams in the game over the last 2 months, and the Red Sox, well, you know of their plight.
Broken bat, one hopper to short. That handcuffs Scudero, still gets it to second in time to retire Swisher. Nothing against Scott Atchison in the 5th. By the Chevy Season of Doing and by Michelin, a better way forward. To the top of the 6th inning, Freddie Garcia has worked 5 shutout innings to date, scattering 5 singles by the Red Sox. He'll continue in the 6th inning for Pedroia, Ortiz, and Gonzalez. Dustin has 1 of those 5 singles. It came to lead off the 5th. In fact, in each of the last 2 innings, and 3 of the 5 altogether, the Red Sox have singled to open the frame, only to be denied on the scoreboard. The 0-1 from Freddie Garcia, fouled back, and quickly Pedroia is in a 0-2 hole. It's a list that the Red Sox don't want to find themselves on, Tim. The collapsers. Stories about the '64 Phillies, the '07 Mets, the '78 Red Sox, for that matter.
Right. 14 ahead of the Yankees on July 23rd of 1978.
Pedroia sticks around on 0-2. There have been teams that have limped in, and I know you and I were having this discussion a little earlier today. No, you don't favor the choice of words, limping into the postseason. But at 5-16, should Boston get there, it would require a whole lot of help from other teams. And as hot as the Rays were 2 weeks ago, Tampa Bay came in here during the week and lost 3 out of 4. That certainly hindered their chances. The Angels have trouble in Oakland, as was evidenced again last night. Next 0-2 home to Pedroia, misses high.
Yeah, I was kidding you earlier, and I said, and I believe that after 162 games that you don't limp into the postseason. But if there were ever a time to use that expression, this would be the year if the Red Sox continue their toppling play. And really on the heels of, just think, 7 years ago, the Red Sox came back with the most dramatic comeback arguably in sports history in this country. Down 0-3 to the Yankees and come back to win 4 in a row. After game 3, where the Yankees had 19 hits and hit the ball harder than any 9-inning game that I have ever seen. To the point that they were congratulating the New York Yankee players and wishing them luck during the World Series after those 3 games. And the Red Sox came back to win it. Unbelievably.
So if that can happen, I sense where you're going here, then you're not going to be surprised if the Red Sox get whip hot tomorrow and ride out another string of momentum all the way into a deep fall run.
Well, I mean, this team did exactly that 7 years ago.
Sharply hit for Rodriguez at 30, flags it down, throw to first is wide, and Pedroia beats it out.
Tough play for A-Rod. And then by the time he makes the throw, it's high, and Pedroia beat it out. I would imagine it'll be an error on the high throw. It is E5 on Alex Rodriguez. Kind of getting under that throw. It was high, and Pedroia is on first base.
So the leadoff hitter reaches safely again. And now Big Papi David Ortiz with the runner aboard.
But again, on that point, Matt, here is a team with a 7-year bookend with the most dramatic comeback, certainly in baseball history, winning 4 in a row against the Yankees, then beating the Cardinals 4 in a row in the World Series, and then having one of the biggest collapses in the history of the game.
Fly ball out to right center field. Granderson is there at the track to make the catch on it. There's one away.
Talking about baseball life in the extreme.
From the pinnacle to the pit in a 7-year span. Here's Adrian Gonzalez now. Well, there have been teams, and again, I beg forgiveness on the choice of words here. There have been teams that have limped in. And it's happened as recently as the 2008 Brewers, who got in as the National League wild card that year after a 10-16 September. The 98 Padres, 9-18 down the stretch, and got as far as the World Series before being dismantled by these Yankees in 4 games. Ken Rosenthal for a little bit more on reeling down the stretch.
Well, guys, keep in mind, too, if the Red Sox do happen to get in, everything changes. And in the playoffs, it's a different game. You can eliminate the soft underbelly of your pitching staff and really lean on your best pitchers. And for the Sox, that would be Beckett and presumably Lester, despite what we saw today, as well as Bard and Papelbon at the end. And one other thing to leave you with, the Red Sox have had good success this season against the Tigers and their all right-handed rotation. They're 5-1 against Detroit.
Where's Kenny going? It's only the 6th inning. Kenny, you don't have to leave just yet. 2-0 pitch to Gonzalez, misses inside, and it's 3 balls and no strikes now.
Most of that success that the Red Sox had against Detroit, I mean, they haven't played them since June. I think June 11th was the last time they played them. And lots happened in Detroit. I mean, Detroit, to me, is like Milwaukee in the National League. I think both are very, very dangerous teams. And it would not surprise me at all if we saw Detroit and Milwaukee in the World Series.
Well, and your point's a good one, that the last time the Red Sox and Tigers met, Boston looked a lot different.
Yep.
And Detroit certainly looked a lot different. That was before they acquired Doug Fister and solidified their rotation. There's a strike to Gonzalez. And it's 3 balls and 2 strikes now. Adrian Gonzalez trying to add his name to a short list of players that have come over from the National League and won a batting title in his first season in the junior circuit. Only 5 have done it previously. 3-2 pitch is popped up and slicing in left. Rodriguez is back to make the catch. Again, it's a list that the Red Sox of 2011 don't want to add their names to. Those most notable collapses over the years. 2007, the fatal start made in game 162 by Tom Glavine. The 95 Mariners came back to catch the Angels after being behind by 13 games in August. The 64 Cardinals caught the Phillies. And in 1951, the Giants trailed the Dodgers by 6 with 15 to play and ended up winning the National League pennant. 2 gone with the runner still at first for Mike Aviles. Swinging on the first pitch and popping it up. Martin and Rodriguez, and neither one will have a play. Russell Martin crossing enemy lines there to try to make that catch. He had some, I think, words that were perhaps more playful than people received them this year.
I agree with that.
Regarding the rivalry.
Right. Saying I hate the Red Sox. Even though he was asked the follow-up question, do you hate the Tampa Bay Rays? He said, no, I don't hate them. And that kind of made added insult to injury.
Aviles has to scoot out of the way. 1-1 the count. We mentioned Aviles being a native New Yorker earlier today. Surrounded by family members who split their allegiance between the Mets and Yankees and their partisan rooting interests. Aviles actually had his big league coming out moment at the old Yankee Stadium. It's going to be a tough play for Rodriguez. He gets the glove on it, but decides to eat the throw, and Aviles is aboard with 2 gone. Runners at first and second now. So the chances for Marco Scutaro, who has a single tonight in 2 tries. Yeah, to finish up the story on Mike Aviles, called up to the big leagues in 2008. And the first ballpark in which he would play, Yankee Stadium. Went 5 for 14 in that opening series. And had his big souvenir moment here at the stadium in a Royals uniform. First big league hit. Saw Corey Wade up in the bullpen for the Yankees. Runners at first and second now for Marco Scutaro. Now Freddie Garcia trying to put the finishing touches on this top of the 6th inning and make it his first outing of 6 or more at home since the end of July. He's had plenty of support. 8 runs on 8 hits for the Yankees. 6 of them coming in the second, and 3 included on a 3-run home run by Derek Jeter. John Lester chased after 2 2/3, his shortest of the year. And after a rain out at the stadium yesterday, the Yankees just trying to finish up business here tonight. Again, for New York, their magic number for home field advantage in the playoffs is 2. All Yankees this afternoon. Derek Jeter's home run coming earlier today, just his 6th of the year, but it comes as a part of a terrific post All-Star break resurgence. Regardless of when this one ends from here on out for Freddie Garcia, it will be one of his longest so far of the year, and coming at a good time. Joe Girardi telling us before the game, Tim, that he's watching Freddie Garcia closely today, given the poor results his last 3 trips to the mound. Still something about slotting those postseason rotation turns.
Monitoring everybody, and even though the Yankees have clinched their division, it's a very important time to figure out manning the postseason roster.
So Corey Wade has been joined by the left-hander Raul Valdez in the Yankee bullpen. Freddie Garcia at 100 pitches. This will be just the 2nd time in his last 12 starts that he has gone that deep into the pitch count.
It's really not as big a problem for a guy like Freddie Garcia because he's not a hard thrower. The harder throwers, the pitch count's more important.
Scutaro sticking around on 2 strikes. Again, the Rays are in action later on tonight. Tampa Bay has Jeff Neiman at home in St. Pete against Toronto's Ricky Romero, who's been terrific all year long. The Angels home once again with the Oakland A's. That too later on this evening. Scutaro taps it back to the pitcher. Another scoreless inning spun by Freddie Garcia, 6 to date. He and the Yankees continue to lead 8-0 New York. And Scott Atchison able to hold the fort after John Lester gave up the 8 2 2/3. Junichi Tozawa takes over in the 6th. The right-hander who began the season on the 60-day DL recovering from Tommy John surgery made a handful of rehab outings before getting back to the big league level. He'll get one of the problems in the Yankee lineup this afternoon for Boston, Jesus Montero, who has a couple of run-scoring hits on his line today, an RBI single in the 2nd and a 2-run double in the 3rd. Freddie Garcia telling friends and family in the stands he's done for the day, apparently. Either that or he's just giving out execution orders. I think it was the former. Jesus Montero leads things off in the 6th. And a fastball misses by Tozawa. Junichi Tozawa last pitched on Tuesday night. Recorded the final out against Baltimore. Certainly no lack of options at this time in a major league bullpen. Boy, a great outing by Freddie Garcia this afternoon, and I think had it not already been said by Joe Madden, perhaps the line would apply to Terry Francona, even though the Red Sox are a veteran lineup. They were defeated by Guile and Moxie. 2 guys beat the Red Sox today.
And his pitch count was only 101 pitches. I can't wait to see a cartoon in the New Yorker one of these days of little Johnny coming back, the 9-year-old who pitched that day, and his father saying, "So Johnny, how was your pitch count today?" Not Johnny, did you win or lose, but Johnny, how was your pitch count? That's how much the pitch count has taken over baseball. Rude by many.
Well, I think we're guilty of it in the media, certainly at the ballpark, with graphics and constant reminders of said pitch count. My goodness, look at the opposite field pop by Jesus Montero.
All 4 home runs that Montero has hit have been off right-handed pitching. When he hit his first home run, his teammates had to encourage him to get back up and take a bow. I don't think he's going to need that encouragement today. Again, as Joe Girardi said, only 21 years old. And in this ballpark with that power the other way, got a bright, bright future.
Oh, that young man is some kind of strong. Nothing New York. What an afternoon for the young Yankee rookie. A career high 4 runs batted in. He's a triple shy of the cycle. 0-2 the count to Russell Martin. Well, you get the sense just in watching Jesus Montero for 5+ innings this afternoon, Tim, why Brian Cashman and the Yankees brass had been so reluctant to include him in any trade discussions the past number of years.
Other organizations wanted Montero, and Brian Cashman's thinking was, I guess you do. But you're not getting him.
And a wave and a miss by Russell Martin. There's one away. Fox Sports is proud to support Stand Up to Cancer in their work to fund groundbreaking research that helps accelerate treatments to patients. Stand up for someone you love. Visit standuptocancer.org/Fox Sports to learn more. Welcome into the broadcast booth with Tim McCarver, Matt Vasgersian, and it was the very scenario that I think Terry Francona most feared today, Tim, that actually played out. 8 early runs against John Lester. He was unable to extend his starter past 2 2/3 today. And now the Red Sox have to worry about a doubleheader tomorrow in failing to lose any more ground to the Rays.
And I guess it would be the eternal optimist who would say, well, John Lester's pitch count wasn't up today, only 55 pitches, so he's eligible to come back on Wednesday night against the Baltimore Orioles. We talked about it earlier, but I mean, that's about the only thing you can hang your hat on today, with the Red Sox getting destroyed offensively by the Yankees.
Boy, looking for that silver lining in a 9-0 cloud this afternoon. Hard to do as Derek Jeter lays off, and it's a ball and a strike from Tozawa. Quite a pleasing formula for Joe Girardi, on the other hand. 21-year-old rookie has contributed today, and so has his veteran captain leader. Jesus Montero with a home run, 4 runs batted in. Derek Jeter with a 3-run home run in the second.
And you know, Matt, it's been such an emotional week. Jorge Posada with that huge hit with the bases loaded to clinch it. Second game of the doubleheader. And think about the changing of the guard here at Yankee Stadium. Jesus Montero is not as strong defensively as he will be, that the Yankees hope that he'll be, but he's a guy from an offensive standpoint that you'd put into your thinking next year. So not only are the Yankees winning with Montero here in the month of September, but developing him to where he will be a future star with this franchise for a long time, one would think.
Raul Valdez continues to throw in the Yankee bullpen. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Derek Jeter. Fastball swung on and missed. Back-to-back strikeouts in the 6th. Hey, tomorrow it's a Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader, beginning with the Giants taking on the Eagles, or the high-flying Lions battling the Vikings. Some will see the 49ers and Bengals. Then it's America's Game of the Week as the Packers and Bears renew their storied rivalry. Some will see the Falcons and Bucks, or the Cardinals and Seahawks. Coverage begins tomorrow with the Fox NFL Sunday pregame show, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Check your local listings for the games in your area. Two gone now for Curtis Granderson. As we discussed earlier today, one of 2 very strong contenders for the American League MVP award. High and deep into the corner and right. Reddick will give it a look. It's well foul.
That's the thing about Curtis Granderson. I mean, you look at him without his shirt on, you don't see bulging muscles or anything. You see a relatively streamlined guy. I mean, he's not built like Roger Maris or Mickey Mantle. Where does he get the power that he gets to generate that thump to right field in particular? Most of his home runs come as a pull hitter. He has really been helped by Kevin Long and has approached his vocation in a very studious fashion and improved himself and gotten rid of some of the unnecessary movements that he had in his swing last year.
Into shallow left center field. And nothing further after the Montero home run. The end of 6, 9-0 Yankees will return to the Bronx after a word from your local Fox station. on Fox, presented by Chevrolet. A reminder to catch all the action of the 2011 Big League postseason on Fox and TBS. It all begins Friday, September 30th with the Division Series on TBS. Some changes for the Yankees. Brett Gardner inserted into play left field. He'll take over for Andrew Jones. And a new pitcher as well. The left-hander Raul Valdez takes over on the mound. Terry Francona countering with a change of his own. The right-handed hitting Connor Jackson will bat to lead things off. So it's Jackson, Salta, LaMacchia, and Ellsbury with the Red Sox in a big 9-0 hole down to their last 9 outs this afternoon. Talking about the postseason starting next week, Tim, and the fact that the regular season ends on Wednesday. First time since 1990 that the regular season has ended midweek. As Connor Jackson sprays a base hit into center field to open the Boston 7th. It's worth revisiting what was the commissioner's office stated goal, and that is to get everything wrapped up before the calendar tears into November.
Right.
And part of reaching that objective was starting the season a week earlier than had been the case the last few years, ending it mid-season, and starting the whole postseason dance on a Friday for the first time since the 1915 World Series.
Wow, that's a good one. Wow. I didn't know that.
Well, if in fact the league is going to add to the postseason format, which has been discussed, I guess, more seriously over the last 24 hours, there aren't a whole lot of days to play with in the major league schedule. It's a very finely put together process. Two balls and no strikes. The count to Jared Salta LaMacchia. In fact, there was a report published last night that led us to believe that maybe the league is a little closer to adopting a new postseason format than we had thought a few weeks ago. Ken Rosenthal with a little more on that.
Well, Matt, what they've agreed on, the players and the owners, is that once the postseason expands with an additional wild card in each league, the additional round is going to be a one-game knockout, not best of 3, one game. Now, they've got a ways to go still before they get the extra wild cards in play. It might not happen, probably will not happen for next season. Why? Because the union, the players, want 2 15-team leagues, a much more fair and equitable schedule before going to the additional wild cards. They basically want everyone to have the same shot at the postseason. But by 2013, we very well could see this plan in place.
Well, you know, when you talk to different people in the game, Tim, about what they feel regarding a one-game knockout, quote-unquote, round, and you're going to get a lot of different reactions. I mean, there are some that feel like that is not organic to the way the game is played. You play a series of series. As Salta LaMacchia lifts a fly ball to left. And that's the first out of the inning. This November, Fox Sports steps into the octagon with an epic heavyweight title fight as the #1 ranked contender in the world, Junior Dos Santos, squares off with undefeated world champ Cain Velasquez in the must-see live event you can only catch on Fox. Dos Santos and Velasquez for the UFC heavyweight belt, November 12th on Fox.
Getting back to the scheduling, I've always thought it unfair that the National League Central had 6 teams and the American League West has only 4 teams. So in the American League West, you have to beat 3 other teams. In the National League Central, you have to beat 5 other teams, and that is unfair. I don't know who came up with that original scheduling when division play was first expanded. But it's inequitable. It makes no sense. So there should be 15 teams in each league. There should be 5 teams in each division.
And the key to this whole thing, depending on who you speak to, is down in Houston.
Yes.
Where there's an ownership change and where the Astros are being talked about as moving to the American League to make the whole thing work. A fly ball into center, and they're 2 away.
And then become the natural rival of the only other team that's in their state, and that's the Texas Rangers.
15 teams in each league, which would mean an interleague matchup every day on the major league schedule. Here's Carl Crawford now with 2 out. I think it's all positive that it's being discussed, and for a sport that's been criticized for its reluctance to adapt to change, I think baseball has done a terrific job ever since the advent of the wild card in exploring all these opportunities that make things more fair, that make the game better. 2 balls and no strikes, the count to Carl Crawford. 0 for 3 this afternoon. Batting in the 2 spot for just the 7th time this year. It hasn't made much of a difference.
I think when Carl goes back and looks at tapes this winter and studies his approach to the plate, he'll find out that he has not been able to reach the pitch outside. Not with that stance.
That's lined into the opposite gap, and that's going to roll a ways. Jackson being waved around. No play at the plate, and the Red Sox are on the scoreboard in the 7th.
This pitch out over the plate, not away, but in the fatter part of the plate. Crawford able to reach it, and Connor Jackson scoring relatively easily. Running all the way, and the Sox put their first run on the board here in the 7th inning.
It is with Boston's first extra base hit of the game that they're finally able to crack the scoreboard. So now Dustin Pedroia, a runner in scoring position, and 2 gone. And here comes Joe Girardi. Joe will tell you that he is taking advantage of the format, and by that we mean with September roster expansion and a whole lot of options, he's not afraid to go to the bullpen often in September. He used 8 pitchers to win a ball game against the Rays earlier this week. He'll be on his 3rd of the afternoon today, a pitching change, and we'll be right back. card for a chance to win World Series tickets, compliments of Scott's. Pitching change for the Yankees, their second of the evening, and Corey Wade takes over to make his 37th appearance of the year. Last worked against the Tampa Bay Rays Wednesday in game 1 of the doubleheader and threw an inning and a third of scoreless baseball. He gets Dustin Pedroia here with 2 out and a runner at second. Pedroia has singled and reached on an error today. Keeps his good success against the Yankees going. Now having hit safely in 14 rather of 15 against New York this year. Boone Logan up in the bullpen behind Corey Wade. You know, you'd never know it by watching this one today. And again, a lot of these games happen when things were going a lot better for the Red Sox. But the Yankees are on the verge of beating the Red Sox at home for the first time this season. Boston had been a rather decisive 6-0 against the Yankees here in New York this year.
And 11-4 overall.
Those little matchup matters hardly seem important to the Red Sox at this point in the schedule, however. Pedroia sends a little ground ball out to third for Rodriguez, who has trouble getting it out of the glove, and everybody's safe. It's the second time Pedroia has reached in as many at-bats here down the stretch tonight on a Rodriguez misplay.
Last time it was hit hard. This time it's hit softly. A-Rod, that ball rattling around in the glove. I think that's a base hit. I don't know. Yeah, it is a hit. Tough play. He looked toward third, thinking Crawford may try to come home, as some runners with Crawford's speed, when they're on at second base, will attempt to do. Another change. Now the Yankees and Red Sox are playing more like they normally play. This is more like it.
Joe Girardi channeling his inner Tony La Russa. Runners aboard and 2 gone. A good time to remind you that the Roberto Clemente Award is about dedication on and off the field. David Ortiz and CC Sabathia are 2 of the 30 nominees for the honor. Go to ChevyBaseball.com/Clemente and vote for the player that inspires you. You could win a trip to the World Series. It's been a hitless night so far for David Ortiz. He'll take his chances here in his 4th plate appearance of the ballgame against the left-hander Boone Logan, one of 3 left-handers in Joe Girardi's bullpen at this moment, and perhaps the one best assured a chance to pitch on the postseason roster. Crawford and Pedroia aboard, a run in with 2 gone.
It's amazing that the Yankees have had, for the most part, only one left-hander in the lineup all year, and that's been Boone Logan. In this division, with hitters like David Ortiz and all the left-handed hitters that the Orioles can throw at you, the Toronto Blue Jays can throw at you, and the Tampa Bay Rays can throw at you. It's remarkable that the Yankees have won 95 games with only one left-hander in the bullpen.
A ball and a strike to count to David Ortiz. We didn't think it was going to turn into a Johnny Holstaff day when Freddie Garcia gave you 6. However, big swing and a miss.
Boone Logan just reaching back and throwing a ball by David Ortiz. A little up in the strike zone. Everybody that's been around baseball knows David Ortiz is a good low ball hitter. Pitchers try to crowd him and work the upper part of the strike zone.
For his part, Ortiz has made some terrific strides against left-handed pitching this year. Hitting .331 against southpaws. That used to be his kryptonite. The 2-2. Hard to imagine the Red Sox moving forward, regardless of what happens down the stretch, without David Ortiz. Adrian Gonzalez waiting next. Putting together one of the best overall seasons he's had in some time, perhaps since 2007. The 3-2 pitch is wrapped to first. Mark Teixeira, one of the best glove men in his craft. And the Red Sox settle with the 1 in the 7th. 2011 Jeep Grand Cherokee. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Well, earlier today, the Yankees held a special ceremony to honor the 50th anniversary of Roger Maris's record-breaking 61 home run season.
Roger Maris was traded to the St. Louis Cardinals in 1967 to end his career in 67 and 68. And we used to drive to the park every day. We lived two doors from each other across from the St. Louis airport. And those children were wee tots and would drive to the ballpark. And that was the bat Roger Maris hit his 61st home run off Tracy Stowler to the Boston Red Sox back in 1961. Roger with no intentional walks that year. The reason, Mickey Mantle was hitting behind him. And Roger Maris in the year 1968 may have, as you look at the myriad changes for the Red Sox, he may have signed the most lucrative contract in the history of baseball by signing a contract with the St. Louis Cardinals, owned by Anheuser-Busch, for $80,000 and a Budweiser distributorship. 8 counties in Gainesville, Florida. And the Maris family had that until a couple of years ago, run by Roger's brother, Rudy Maris.
Mark Teixeira leads things off in the Yankee half of the 7th. You might have been wondering when you look at that footage from the ceremony earlier today, and really a nice moment here at the ballpark. It might have struck you as a little unusual to see the white gloves on everybody that was on the field. There was no paranoia about germs, nor was there a collection plate being passed. But those artifacts, the bat used for number 61, the ball hit for number 61, are all on loan from the National Baseball Museum and Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. And to preserve these artifacts, folks wear gloves. Right. Keep the oils from your hand and from your fingers from changing the surface at all. Very respectful handling of 2 important heirlooms, if you will. 1 gone now for Alex Rodriguez.
Priceless.
We talked a little bit about how Alex Rodriguez, with the left thumb injury, is trying to get himself a little closer to 100%. We talked to Joe Girardi a little bit before the game and discussed how Alex is alleviating the pressure on the left thumb. He's putting a little bit of distance between his right and left hands on the bat. Just a little gap to make things a bit more comfortable on the left thumb.
Yeah, there's a little tape between those, between the left thumb and the right hand. And that was at the suggestion of Kevin Long, the hitting instructor. Relieve some of the pressure.
Joe Girardi remembers teammates who hit like that with healthy thumbs. Ellis Burks among those who the Yankee manager cited. This is popped into shallow center for Pedroia. Ken Rosenthal with a little bit more on Alex Rodriguez here down the stretch.
Well, guys, we've seen A-Rod struggle at the plate and especially in the field today. And keep in mind, this is only his 16th game since July 7th. Matt, you mentioned the thumb. He also had the right knee surgery. He is not moving all that well. But Brian Cashman told me yesterday that basically he's trying to knock the rust off, protecting himself, saving himself for October. But right now, he's a question.
A pitching change with 2 gone in the 7th. The Red Sox go back to their bullpen. We'll be right back. Download the @Bat app at the App Store. Pitching change for the Red Sox with 2 gone in the last of the 7th as the veteran left-hander Trevor Miller takes over with the bases empty. He'll face Robinson Cano and trying to get work in and keep this at an 8-run deficit, if you can say such a thing.
With the doubleheader tomorrow, Terry Francona with another thought about using as many relievers as he can to get them prepared for tomorrow. Since a September call-up, there's no chance for a bullpen to be depleted when the Red Sox play the Yankees in that split doubleheader tomorrow. But with Tim Wakefield and John Lackey starting for the Sox, common sense will tell you that the bullpens will be used by the Sox tomorrow, at least needed. Nothing against Timmy or John, but this lineup, this Yankee lineup, very, very tough in this ballpark and playing with a ton of confidence right now.
Ball and 2 strikes, the count to Robinson Cano. Tim Wakefield was knocked around last weekend after winning his 200th decision his previous start. Trevor Miller was sitting at home minding his own business, as they say, after being released by the Blue Jays, his 7th major league employer. The phone rang at the end of August. He was signed as a free agent by the Red Sox. Had a couple of quick tune-up appearances at Pawtucket and was back in the big league shortly thereafter. Still 1-2 to Robinson Cano. Well, Jesus Montero has certainly put his skills on display today. An RBI single, a 2-run double, and a solo home run. And by the way, it's worth pointing out that the Red Sox, or the Yankees today, have scored 9 runs on 9 hits on a day when Curtis Granderson, Mark Teixeira, and Alex Rodriguez have gone a combined 0 for 11. That's how loaded this lineup is. Swing and a miss, and Miller strikes out Cano to make for a 1-2-3 inning. Still 9-1 Yankees. League Baseball on Fox, presented by Chevrolet. Back alongside Tim McCarver, Chris Rosen, Ken Rosenthal, Matt Vasgersian. The amber skies above the stadium in the Bronx this evening. Boy, what a beautiful night it's turned into for baseball after rain dampened the spirits of the sold-out crowd, at least on paper, yesterday. Doubleheader schedule tomorrow. We can only hope that Mother Nature will be so generous 24 hours from now.
No bridge over troubled waters like last night, with Paul Simon in the crowd today.
Very nice. Adrian Gonzalez leads things off in the Boston half of the 8th. A run on 9 hits for the Red Sox, 9 runs on 9 hits for the Yankees. Adrian Gonzalez has one of those 9 hits for the Red Sox. The Yankees have certainly, in addition to outscoring Boston, outslugged the Red Sox today. Only 1 extra base hit for Boston this evening. To your point, Timmy.
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
In fact, somebody tried to take his Kodachrome away between innings and was escorted the heck out of here.
That'll teach him.
Ball and 2 strikes, the count to Adrian Gonzalez as Boone Logan continues here in the 8th. Been threatening to get Luis Ayala into this ball game for the last couple of innings, as he would be the next in line. Swing and a miss. Gonzalez goes down on strikes as we check in with Chris Rhodes.
Yeah, guys, earlier we gave you our FoxSports.com poll question. Of course, a lot of talk show fodder on the East Coast between Boston and New York. Would we trade one disappointing pitcher for another? A John Lackey for A.J. Burnett trade would be good for. America says neither. 55% checking in there, and kind of a whole bunch of interesting tweets on that one. Obviously, with another pitching change, we'll fill you in on the Twitterverse, Matt Vescursion, as we like to call it, in a bit.
Hold that thought. More Chris will have from the Twitterati as we continue. Here comes Luis Ayala. We'll be right back. Brought to you by Burger King. A couple of moments all delivered by Jesus Montero. An RBI single, a 2-run double, and finally an impressive home run in the 6th to the opposite field.
Does not turn 22 until November 28th of this year. Oh, what a gorgeous sky.
Just as pleasing on the field if you're a Yankee fan. Luis Ayala takes over on the mound. They'll face Mike Aviles with 1 gone and the bases empty. The Red Sox down to their final 5 outs tonight. Well, as much as the Rays and Angels have been doing scoreboard watching this afternoon, they will trade places with the Red Sox tonight. Rays in action in just a bit, starting up in St. Pete with the Blue Jays. Angels later on this evening at home with Oakland, as Avila sends a fly ball out to right for Swisher. So now Marco Scutaro 1 for 3 tonight. Joe Girardi was quick to point out to us how pleased he's been with his bullpen down the stretch, citing a couple of things. David Robertson having matured into a dependable go-to late inning reliever, and perhaps more importantly, Rafael Soriano delivering the kind of results the last month plus that they expected all season long, to be frank, when they signed him to that lucrative 3-year deal in the winter. A ground ball to first. Teixeira handles it, and the Red Sox go away quickly in the 8th. To the bottom of the inning, still 9-1 Yankees. TV's best offer of the year, and by One A Day Men's, the official vitamin of Major League Baseball. Some changes for the Red Sox. Additional changes. Jose Iglesias takes over at shortstop for Marco Scutaro, and Michael Bowden takes over on the mound, making his 14th appearance of the year here tonight. Well, Bowden has yielded runs in 5 of 7 games since being recalled from the minor leagues. This is his 4th stint with the Red Sox this season, and again paying attention to having to pitch through a doubleheader tomorrow with Wakefield and Lackey scheduled. A chance for Michael Bowden to get some work as he faces Nick Swisher here to lead off the last of the 8th. Another change at first base. Lars Anderson takes over for Adrian Gonzalez. So only 4 position players who started the night are still out there for Boston.
The one thing I've been meaning to ask Nick Swisher is, where is he looking when he looks right before the pitcher is ready to pitch? I don't know. It looks like he's looking perhaps at his picture in center field on the center field scoreboard here at Yankee Stadium, but he does it on the road too.
That was going to be the next thing I asked you.
Yeah, he does it on the road also.
You saw George Contos up in the bullpen for the Yankees a moment ago. Here's the 1-2 to Swisher on one big hop for Pedroia, and one away.
Pedroia took one step to his left before, or as that pitch was on its way, and it reminds me of a comment Earl Weaver made one time, that the last step an infielder makes before the pitch is on its way is the most important. We couldn't see it in that frame right there, but it was one step to the left. See the step right there? That step is the most important. And a lot of times, if you've never played the game, you may think that once the ball is in play, then that step is important, but it's too late a lot of times then. I remember telling Tony La Russa that a couple of years ago, and he said, "Weaver said that?" And I said, "Yeah."
Brett Gardner slaps a ball to third And Gardner's retired in his first plate appearance tonight. Well, I don't think
it's part of the choreography of the game, and that's why, you know, stands and seats that are behind the infield, whereas you're looking at the hitter, you can see that choreography take place. It's often one of the better seats in the stadium as young Jesus Montero makes yet another plate appearance.
Montero on a great afternoon, 3 for 3 so far, a triple shy of the cycle. Already having put together the fine homestand, 4 for 9 against the Rays to begin this. Well, when Boston bats in the top of the 9th inning, they'll have the 8, 9, and then top of the order hitters, and that's Jackson, Lavarnway, and Ellsbury. There had been a suggestion, Tim, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. And you can see physically how imposing Jesus Montero is. But there had been a suggestion along his development that perhaps his frame would be too big to occupy the catcher spot.
Too tall.
Too tall.
It can be an impediment. I think Jared Saltalamacchia is finding that out right now. Jared is 6'4.5", and it's a very difficult position for a taller player, anybody over 6 feet tall, because you have to go down and give a low target. The target's a problem, the footwork's a problem, the throwing's a problem. The best tall catcher that I had ever seen, or in my experience, was Tom Haller of the San Francisco Giants. Ultimately became the general manager of the Giants. But I talked to Tom about that after we both retired, and he confirmed that it is a very, very difficult position for a guy whose height is 6'3", like Montero.
But Montero is listed at least what looks like to me a rather conservative 6'3", 235. Again, when you're 5'7", a $160 soaking wet like me, everybody looks big. And watching him swing the bat, he looks even bigger.
Now, the Red Sox are playing him straight away, and I think throughout his career he's going to be played to right field. He is a guy that appears to me early in his career to have the skills of a left-handed pull hitter. That's why I think he'll fare very well here at Yankee Stadium. Short porch and right.
Lays off a 2-2 breaking ball, a full count now, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Hey, why not another change, right?
Why not?
George Contos ready to go down in the bullpen for the Yankees. Again, Joe Girardi said it to us before the game. I don't necessarily agree with the roster expansion in September, but I'll take advantage of it if I can. And Montero is caught looking retired for the first time tonight. On to the 9th, last licks for the Red Sox, down big in New York. To drag racers, the men and women of law enforcement are keeping the streets safe, one criminal at a time. It's an all-new Cops, followed by American Dad and the Cleveland Show, starting at 8/7 Central, Fox tonight. Wholesale changes for the Yankees behind the new pitcher. We'll get to him in a moment. First, Eduardo Nunez takes over at shortstop. Brandon Laird is the new third baseman. Starting to look like a B game on the backfield in Tampa. Greg Golson in left.
Thing.
Mahon. New catcher is Austin Romine. And a new pitcher, George Cantos. First pitch to Connor Jackson, rolled out to shortstop. They find Nunez immediately, and there's one away. Ken Rosenthal with a look ahead for the Yankees.
Well, Matt, assuming an AL East team wins the wild card, the Yankees will face either the Rangers or the Tigers, and their preferred opponent, frankly, would be the Rangers, and not just because of the Verlander factor. The Yankees are 7-2 against the Rangers this season, and they would not be unnerved by the Rangers' 3 left-handed starters. Check this one out, guys. After today, the Yankees will be 35-16 in games started by left-handers. And they've also crushed the Rangers' right-handed starter, Alexi Ogando, this year.
Well, it's an amazing number, Timmy. Thanks, Kenny, rather. And when you consider how left-handed the Yankees lineup can be, the success they've had against left-handed pitching is really remarkable as Ryan Lavarnway stands in with one away.
Well, the ability of Curtis Granderson to hit left-handers better. Robinson Cano can hit anybody. Nick Swisher is a better right-handed hitter than a left-handed hitter. And then, of course, you have A-Rod, Mark Teixeira. There are very few weaknesses in the Yankee lineup against left-handers or right-handers.
A major league leading 66 home runs for the Yankees against left-handed pitching. Meanwhile, 1-2 is the count to Ryan Lavarnway from George Cantos. And a swing and a miss. Well, once again, if the postseason were to start today, the division series is set up as such. First American League Championship division series, rather. Rangers in New York, and the Red Sox play with the Tigers having home field advantage. Phillies would host the Diamondbacks. Brewers would host the Braves. 3 of those teams locked up division titles last night. Boston down to their final out tonight, and it comes to the plate in the form of Jacoby Ellsbury.
Not only would the Red Sox have to play the Detroit Tigers, but they'd have to play them next Friday at 5 in the afternoon, facing Verlander. Fortunately, we've checked the weather in Detroit next week. It's sunny on Thursday, cloudy on Friday, and sunny Saturday and Sunday. That is the early forecast. So I think hitters, one way or the other, are going to be very happy not to have to face Verlander at 5 o'clock.
You bet.
In the sunshine, the October sunshine.
Those are part of the evils of trying to get all those games in the very short period of time that they have. There's always one of those division series that has to play at that odd twilight hour.
Particularly difficult in a ballpark like Milwaukee's, for instance, with the problems that hitters had the last time the Brewers were in the LDS.
The Yankees are 1 out away from finishing off Boston tonight. (9-1) New York in the series opener in the Bronx. Well, that ends Boston's 6-game winning streak here at Yankee Stadium. And perhaps more pressingly for the Red Sox, reduces Boston to scoreboard watchers tonight to watch and see what the rest of the coming field does. Again, Tampa Bay playing at home in St. Pete against Toronto. Angels are at home hosting Oakland. Tampa Bay just 2 back. Angels trail by only 3 as a result of a 9-1 Yankee win over the Red Sox. Tim and I are back right after this.